talk show is brought to you by...
Hey, want to feel young again? Are you tired, run down, have aches and pains, brain fog? This is science-based, not hype or fancy marketing. It really works. Carbon 60 helps detoxify your body on the cellular level. It stabilizes free radicals, just like the antioxidants found in red wine and berry stew, but on a far smaller, more bioavailable nanoscale. It's like a bottle of electrons, helping your body to function better. You can also apply it on your skin topically, over muscles, joints, or organs. Most people feel results within minutes. This is not a drug. It's organic carbon. Feel better today. About 95% of our users report more energy and clarity of mind within 10 days. Give us a call at Greska's Carbon 60 at 720-600-6040 or visit our site at c-60.com. Call 720-600-6040 and feel young again.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, the Sales World channel, the ENBC network, iHealth Radio, with your host, Hurricane Age. This is the Age Factor, and today we're going to talk about a topic that I really enjoy. This is like my favorite topic, if anything, and this is about life and transformation and doing things and succeeding and maybe even transiting to better and really improving yourself. And my guest today, she's a solutions coach. This is what she does. She helps people transform and really for better. She is literally going to drive us into a journey of self-control, and I'll keep it at that. So I have with me Tracy Pleshcourt. Tracy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Hurricane.
Oh, listen, not as much as I am. I mean, I've been waiting for this, and it's fun stuff. I read about your stuff when we connected. I enjoyed, the work you do, and it's definitely something we need to share with the world out there. And there's a lot of people literally that can use this, whether they listen to this and ultimately if they can work with you, it's even better. But the idea is that what you do is important. And I think a lot of people can at least benefit from the discussion that we're going to have today. So let's get started. So,
all right.
So you have an interesting story because you were the typical corporate person having a super career path, and you did that, and all of a sudden you kind of dropped all that and went for your passion. Which, by the way, we're going to talk about this piece in the next couple of minutes, but that is a big deal. A lot of people are stuck. All right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about behind the scenes. What happened? That led you to that decision? Because that's big.
Yeah. Well, at the time, I had been in the world of advertising for almost 20 years. I had spent a lot of time away from home, away from my kids and my husband. And I was kind of getting to that point in my life where I was starting to kind of look towards the future. I was recognizing that I was only a few years away from kind of being an empty nester where my kids were going to go off to college. And one thing I know about myself is that I do not do regret very well. I am very good at beating myself up. And so I started to think about what is it going to be like when they are no longer in the house, that they've moved out, they're at college, or they've gone on, to the next chapter of their life. What is the self-talk going to sound like? And I knew for sure I was going to spend a lot of time in that place of, you could have been with them more. You could have done more. You could have, spent more time with them. You were very selfish around how much time and effort and energy you invested in your career. And I decided that I did not want to live with that kind of narrative. And so even though I really was at the height of my career and I left it in a really good place, I just kind of look at that chapter as complete. I left it in really good hands. I learned a lot. I think that they gained a lot from having me, but it seemed like the right time to move on to the next chapter. And although I didn't know exactly what that looked like, I did know the timing was right. And it was really scary. A lot of people have asked me, did it take a lot of courage? And I very humbly say, I think it took a lot of not really knowing what I was getting myself into. And by the grace of God, my resignation happened over the course of almost a year. So when I decided to leave and to spend more time at home with my kids before they went off to college, my company said, why don't you work from home and transition, take the year to really transition and leave us in even a better place. And as much as I didn't really want to do that, it was such a blessing because from a financial standpoint, it worked out really well. And honestly, from an emotional and a mental standpoint, it really kind of eased me into it because I had no idea what it would be like to walk away from a, six-figure career that I had built my identity around. And so I am so grateful looking back that we parted in the way that we did. And I really do feel like, I left it in good hands. I was able to give them, the best parts of me. And I have nothing but great memories, so many experiences of working with very creative people on very creative brands. And I just appreciate the opportunity. And it made me the person that I am today that is actually willing and way more like confident in my ability to navigate sometimes adverse experiences. Like that was super scary, like walking out of a career that I identified as into the unknown. Like I had to reinvent myself, and I did that. And now I have that kind of evidence that says, you know what, you can recreate yourself again, should you need to, or should you want to. And so even though it was very scary and I financially took a hit, I mentally took a hit, I emotionally took a hit. All of that worked out in my favor because now I have the evidence that I am a way more resilient person than I ever thought. And what came of that is I ended up pursuing a life coaching certification. Then I started a life coaching business, and I directed all of my attention to those problems that I personally needed to overcome. And so Self-Made You was birthed from that, and I have not looked back. It's just putting the next step in front of the last, and I use this evidence that I am a very resilient, a very creative person, and I'm willing to feel it all. I'm willing to feel scared. I'm willing to feel nervous. I'm willing to feel embarrassed. There's a lot of social media marketing that's necessary when you have a startup business. And it's really not my jam to get on social media and to bare my soul and to talk about vulnerable things. But I did it. And I did it because I knew it was going to help people. And I'm still here to, able to talk about it. And so anybody who's listening, who's saying, that's really scary, that's too big of a risk. Risks are meant to be taken. That's what makes you stronger. That's what provides you the evidence that you need to put the next step in front of, to take that next step. So yeah, I'm happy to talk further about that story, but there's so many more fun things to talk about.
Oh yeah. Well, we're gonna break that down, then deep dive. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that, and because again, I am pretty sure people watching and listening right now, today or any day, this is evergreen, right? So people are probably gonna like being stuck in a moment where they're not sure what comes next, or they're in that position that you had, that you, especially when you're a parent, you see kids growing but you're not there. I mean, you're busy now. Your life marketing, I'm in sales and marketing as well, so I can tell you, I know that life is not peachy. I mean, you travel, you're busy, you're working long days, you got deadlines, you got weekend work, you're always not available, and that makes it very difficult to balance life and business kind of concept. And you're right, kids grow quick, and the next thing you know, they'll be gone. And your motivation was really valid that, I don't want that. And you're right. The regrets is usually what everybody else, would get if they don't make a stand or take a stand rather. And that is where you're like, oh man, to your point, I should have spent time. I should have done, I could have done, should have, could have done work. I mean, it's past, right? So,
Right.
but you were a preemptive person. You kind of saw that coming, and therefore you made a decision. Now, this decision, to your point, is not easy. And I think everybody's scared to change. Change is brutal. I mean, everybody is afraid. We are all living in the comfort zone. Not all, but most of us love that comfort, because it's easy. We cozy. We know the routine. You'll get up, you got a job. Now, there's no guarantees in that world, and we can talk a little bit about that. But at the end of the day, is the perception of that you are set and that you have that ongoing system, and you don't have to shift it off or shake it. And most of us are almost like drugged in that concept. That's like the zone, right? But the fact of the matter is, life sometimes requires those risks and taking those leaps of faith. And you're right. There's no one that can guarantee the outcome when you move and you make a bold move like that. That's a bold move and a brave one too. It's a fact, right? And by the way, that's the move that most of the successful people in this world have made at a point in their lives. We can go back in history. We can look at all the people that we look up to today. They've made some similar move at a point in their life where they decide, no, this is not for me. I'm moving, whether from the school concept, at the onset, or in a career path, or they switch careers where they didn't like it. They went entrepreneurial, they went independent. Now this doesn't mean that the corporate world doesn't have a validity to it. And I mean, listen, I've been in corporate too. Like I said, you and I have very similar, concepts, because I've been in the corporate world for many years, and I've been on and off, literally trying to get off. I come back, get off, come back, and again for the same reasons, the financials, the stuff. Sometimes the things are beyond you. You have to balance it out until you find that healthy formula where you can build. And believe it or not, I've been. People that watch my shows, especially the first ones, I've always been vocal that I'm having a day job and I'm doing this, and I'm trying to transit eventually to a point where I can make that leap directly, and this becomes the world. But not there yet. I'm still working, doing different things. But at the same time, it is, to your point, this is that resignation year that you had. Everybody has it differently, and you were lucky because not every company will take that. And by the way, if that speaks anything, it speaks about your, level of, success with them, and your level of business savviness and things like that. And so therefore, they were very pleased, with you. But at the same, because if they weren't, they would probably say bye-bye, sayonara.
They would say, there's the door.
Exactly. And you were really a big person for them, and letting you go immediately wouldn't have made the difference. So they were willing to compromise and help you while they transit, which was perfect. And that's not something you always get. So if you're out there, folks, not every company will do that. So you gotta play by ears and know exactly where you are. Sometimes it is what it is. You walk and that's it. You don't look back. And you gotta
but don't make assumptions either, right? Like if there is a parting of ways, it might not benefit you to make all of these assumptions. I would say get curious and start asking for what it is that you need. You might not know exactly what you need, but don't make assumptions that this is all you get or this is the way it has to look. Like, really try to kind of be a little bit more exploratory in what are the options? How could this look? Right? So that there's maybe more of a win-win going on. It's like, I think part of it was that we both were very creative and we kind of co-create what this was going to look like. And it became the win-win that I didn't even know I was looking for. But in retrospect, when I did move home and I started working from home with kids around me, and I'm like, why exactly did I want to do this? Well, I was quickly reminded that, thank God, I kind of had this gradual exit. It wasn't a hard stop where the money stopped and the, adult connections stopped and the ability to be creative and work on projects and all of that kind of stopped. It was very gradual. And that's really what I needed. And that's obviously what they needed as well. So don't make assumptions, like really try to be a little bit more exploratory about, how can we make this more of a win-win, and get creative and co-create an experience that you both can like look back on in a very fond way.
Well, you don't want to burn your bridges. One, two is you definitely want to be able to transit a good exit strategy type of concept. And if it can work out to both parties, advantage, which in this case it did, that's super. But again, to your point, folks, if you're listening and this is something you're entertaining, again, it doesn't hurt to try to find a way to do this where you win and they win. And ideally that transition to have enough time for you to actually really go completely off and just cut the umbilical cord, if you want to call it that way, to a degree. But the more, and you're right, because the financials are going to be a big problem. And most of the people are afraid of that because that's really either you don't have enough cushion, you don't have passive income, whatever, you don't have a side, thing going. And then you are caught up with all your bills. And we all know we live in a world that is bills, 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 and you're attached to all these things. And they don't wait. And the month goes back and you got to take care of business. So if you don't have that system, at least that could be, that planning, it could be, disastrous. And sometimes that's when people really lose it.
Right.
So I am very pleased that happened to you. But I think for our audiences, it is, listen, folks, if you are in the corporate world and you have a passion that you have not explored yet and you want to explore. I mean, by the way, you said something very powerful earlier about you learned a lot. And that's one thing you're going to be, in the corporate work, in the world, you're going to learn every single aspect of a business. I mean, whether you have a degree in business management or not, you will still learn all the tricks. And, especially as you get higher in the, I guess, the ladder of corporate, right? You will learn different tricks and the organization skills that you need, the systems, the whole nine. And those will be all skills that you carry with you, and they will help you develop whatever the next, chapter. And I love what you said. The chapter was closed, and it's good. Then you start a new page, right?
Yeah.
And so it's an important. And again, so the other thing is, don't be afraid, because there is a light at the end of the tunnel, as the expression would say. It's gonna be tough. And I'm sure that first year was cushion, it was okay, but then beyond that, it becomes more difficult because you gotta maintain and you have to do stuff and you gotta build your concept as well to get it to a point where people really are excited about it. And you gotta build a name. You had a name in the corporate world, that's one thing, but now you have to build it for your own self, that's another. So all these things are things to consider. And what I enjoyed in addition with what you presented so far is that all that you took it and you applied it into your business, and you went to the life coaching certification, became one, and then you are educating and teaching people about how to do this transition if they chose to, the right way. And you could not possibly do it better if you haven't experienced it yourself, right? I mean, that's really, when you lead by example, you have been there. So, and most people are like, well, what do you know about this? Well, I know a couple of things because been there, done that, right? So it makes a big difference. Now you mentioned, to be self-made or self-made you. Now let's talk about that. That's a powerful, because we hear this: I am a self-made man, I am a self-made woman, I am a self-made, a success. What does that mean? I know you have it, you using it for your purposes, but we hear that all the time. And basically what we know about it is someone who kind of did it on their own. I mean, but I do believe that no one does it on their own.
Right.
You do it, but there's always an entourage of things and circumstances that make it happen. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I wholeheartedly agree with you that it almost is never done by one person. Like, you kind of build your success on the backs of all of those people who came, ahead of you or in front of you. And so I believe that it really, you kind of edify what it means to be self-made when you take responsibility for all of your results. Whether your results were unintentional, you take responsibility for them, or they're intentional, you take responsibility for them. So that's when you take on all of the power. When you take the responsibility for the things that you're creating in your life, whether they were unintentional or intentional, now you hold all of the cards. And there's a process to doing that. So I don't look at being self-made as really an egotistical type, you know, identity. I actually look at it as more of a like purpose-driven type identity, because it's two-part. You're taking responsibility for all of the results, and you're modeling that for other people. And that, I believe, is what's going to really change our world. When we model this sense of responsibility for the way that we think, for the way that we feel, for the way that those feelings have us showing up, creating our results. When we do that, now we start to like model that for those people in our inner circle, and it starts to spread. And now the world, the polarized world, the world that has a lot of blame going on, it starts to shift, because we're no longer pointing the finger at all of the people and all of the things that are the cause of all of our experiences. We now take responsibility for them. And that changes, like I said, it changes the world. And so it's a two-part, it's a two-part definition. It's taking the responsibility and modeling that indirectly and sometimes directly. And so I hold every one of my students to that, definition. And I tell them it is not an egotistical identity. It's very purpose driven. It's what we are becoming. We are becoming self-made, and we're always in the act of doing that, of taking that responsibility and recognizing how it is that we create our own results, whether we want to believe it or not. I think if you become a student of mine, you do believe that. And it's amazing to work with the people who come through our doors wanting to lose weight or wanting to change relationships or wanting to advance their careers or become more productive. It's amazing to watch that transformation happen when they really understand what it means to become self-made.
Oh, thank you, Tracy. I mean, I'm listening to you, and you're talking about keywords such as responsibility, accountability, and I think in our world, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are. That's the key ingredient. I think if you don't have that in anything you do, you're off. Right? That's where you have problems. And you're right. I think many folks will tend to find reasons and circumstances and blame the world for everything and all the circumstances that happen. Yes, there are circumstances we don't choose sometimes. I mean, you're basically getting dealt cards in life, and you got to manage them. But you're not stuck. You're only stuck if you choose to be stuck. You can make a move out of any situation. And step one, you can, if you don't know how to do it, you reach out, to someone such as yourself, an expert that will guide you, because you have the systems, and we're going to talk about that shortly. But the fact of the matter is, you're not stuck. You can, but you have to be accountable. So the reason it's not happening is because I am not making step 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not happening because and it can happen. And by the way, I love what you said. It's not ego. You got to put that away. Your success, you can be proud of your success, but you don't have to be, egoistic about it. You can be so happy that you made it, and you're in the process of doing, and to your point, you said, whether it's in the weight, type of situation where you want to be fit and lose weight or whatever, in relationships, in business, in career path, doesn't matter. The key here is you're going to get to a point where you're going to be like in that success mode. But at that point, you have to also recognize that it was not just you. There were sacrifices that you made, and you were accountable. But there's a lot of things that happen. If they did not happen, you would not get to where you are today. Right. And again, I mean, look, you mentioned like that company helped you get where you are, even though you left it. And so, and we can relate to this. Everybody watching and listening right now, I guarantee you, if you start looking back, there are a few people in your life that actually were there. And because of them, you are where you are today, no matter where you are today, situation, good or bad, I would say. But we'll highlight the good. For the most part, in the business world, in career path, whatever, there are people that without them, you wouldn't have made it where you are currently. And there will be others that will help you move from this situation if that's what you choose to. And that's important. So now the self-made that we refer to in general is the fact that, I had no money. I come from a very, humble beginnings type of thing. And I just worked my way up, in the ladder, or I just, busted, sweat and blood and everything. And finally, I was able to make it. And the success took a few years. And typically that's what we know. And you just
Yeah.
taking it to the next level and you break it down, I think, to a science right now.
Yeah.
You have a system that you put in place.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about that system.
Yeah.
And I think I see the sign behind you, self.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the self-control, self method that you
Yeah.
use.
Yeah. So it's really a way of operating. So I wanted to create a framework that made it very easy to remember. If you're going to operate this way, it better be easy to remember, because believe me, there's so many circumstances in life that we are likely to be hijacked by, and we'll forget. We will start spinning out in emotion, and we will quickly go, oh my God, I can't believe I gained 10 pounds when I went on vacation. I knew I shouldn't have gone on vacation, or I knew I should have, stuck with that diet. Like, it's so easy to get hijacked by those little circumstances. And I want you to, at that point, remember that you have a tool. It's actually inherent within you. You actually start to think of yourself, S.E.L.F, as the solution. I know personally, I used to think that I was the problem. I never thought of myself as the solution. I thought, you know what? I got all these problems going on. I'm over drinking. I'm overeating. I'm overspending. I'm under earning, like yada, 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 all of them. But I thought the common denominator was me. So I thought of myself as the problem. And then that just perpetuated me feeling very defeated, very worthless. And I would behave from this worthless, defeated place only to create more results that reflected how I was feeling and how I was thinking, what I was believing. And so I want to preempt that for anybody who can relate to this. I want to preempt that. I want to teach you how to intercept when you're in that spin, when you're feeling depressed or desperate, anxious, frustrated, overwhelmed. I want you to remember that you can start to think of yourself as the solution. It is a mind-boggling concept, I know, especially when you've always thought of yourself as the problem. But the counterintuitive, the big mind bend, is it doesn't have to be that way. You literally can think of yourself as the solution. And so I teach a 4-step process that will have you, if you practice this, it will have you operating in a way where you are taking responsibility for all of your results, and you literally are deciding how you want to think, how you want to feel, which will have you showing up, creating results that you want in your life. You have complete control. So I call this the self-control operating system, because it is 100% within your control. All of the tools that you're going to tap into are inherent within you. So the S.E.L.F stands for these 4 steps. Self-coaching, which is just the art of asking yourself questions. Okay? It can be as simple as, how am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling that way? Making that connection between how you're feeling and why shows you that whatever it is that you're believing is creating the feeling, not the circumstance that you're thinking about, because arguably hundreds of thousands of people are having that same experience with that same circumstance, and they're not feeling the exact same way. So it's not the circumstance that is making you feel that way. It's the thought that you're having about it. And you can draw that conclusion hundreds, if not thousands of times every single day. If you ask yourself that question, how am I feeling and why? It always points back to the thought that you're thinking. You do have control over that. You can be intentional. Although the primitive part of your brain offers you a lot of fear-based, unconscious, reactive type thoughts. That's normal. That's totally normal. But you don't want to react from them. You want to notice them and intercept. And so that's what we teach our clients to do. So you have to know they're there. You have to know what thoughts you're reacting from. So it creates a level of awareness. And that's literally what the objective of self-coaching is to create a level of awareness. So the S, self-coaching, asking yourself questions, carving out 10 minutes every single day to ask yourself questions. So we give our clients all sorts of questions to ask themselves to heighten their level of awareness. The E is eliminating self-sabotage. Because when we are not aware, when we are just kind of on autopilot, we have a lot of default thinking that is very fear-based, coming from our primitive brain, that sabotages us. It wants to keep us safe. It's seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, and it's very efficient. It kind of repeats the same thoughts every single day. But in its attempt to keep us safe, it gets very dramatic. It offers us a lot of thoughts like, you can't walk past that plate of cookies and not eat them because they won't be there when you come back. So then we eat the whole plate of cookies. That was a very dramatic thought. But it's trying to keep us alive, but we're really not in any danger when we're walking past a plate of cookies, right? So it's like a perfect example of we're not really in any danger, but our primitive brain doesn't know that. And we don't question it, and so we just react. And then we gain weight. So eliminating the self-sabotage requires you to be aware of what saboteur narratives you most often listen to. And there's 10 of them. And so we give you an assessment that reveals which ones you're most listening to, like which ones are most prominent in your life. So the judge is the universal one. Everybody's judging themselves. They're judging other people. They're judging circumstances. Sounds like, when I finally hit my goal weight, then I'll be happy. When I, have this dollar amount in the bank, then I'll be successful. That's what it sounds like to judge a circumstance. So we're judging all darn day, but what we don't recognize is that when we're reacting from those thoughts, we will sabotage ourselves. So we want to just notice that they're there and respond by going, is that even true? We can question it. So you're kind of back to the self-coaching step. So self-coaching, eliminating the self-sabotage, then leveraging your strengths. Now, this sounds a little airy-fairy, and it's not. There are 5 strengths that are available to us when we're operating from the other part of our brain. So you have this 3-pound organ that resides in between your ears. We all have it. But if you kind of picture it as cut right down the center, the left side is your primitive brain. It's meant to keep you alive. It has you doing things without even thinking. It's very autopilot. It has you doing things that keep you alive, like breathing. You don't want to have to think about breathing. So it's very purposeful. Then you have the other part of your brain that I like to call your prodigy brain. This is the more extraordinary part of your brain that allows you to be responsive, that allows you to question your thoughts. So that's the part of the brain that also allows you to tap into strengths like empathy, discovery, innovation. You can navigate with your values kind of at the forefront. You activate with clear, concise, confident actions. You can only tap into those strengths when you're operating from your prodigy brain. When you are being hijacked and you're feeling desperate and confused and frustrated, you do not have access to those strengths. Okay, so we teach you how to shift from this primitive part of your brain that so many of us operate from, because to be honest, it's the strongest part of our brain because it has been used most of our life. It's just like going to a gym and lifting the same dumbbell with the same arm. That, of course, is going to be the stronger muscle. So primitive brain has been overused and it's stronger. So it makes sense that it's the one that operates on default. But we actively train through our mental fitness, our prodigy brain, so that we can kind of offset the primitive brain. We don't want the primitive brain to go away because it does keep us alive, but we don't want to be reacting from the dramatic thoughts. We want to notice them and question them, and then be able to tap into empathy and discovery. Okay, so that's how you leverage those strengths that only come from your prodigy brain. And then finally, the fourth step out of 4 steps, finally, we get to forging intentional results. So a lot of other programs, especially the weight loss programs out there, they'll give you a checklist and say, here's what you need to be doing. And arguably, it looks a lot different than what you were doing. And then they'll send you on your way. But what they miss is those first 3 steps that help you discover how you got to where you were in the first place, that has you understanding what saboteur narratives you are listening to. They don't teach you how to tap into empathy and discovery and innovation so that you are intentional about what it is that you want to create. They have you acting still from desperation, and then they've given you this list and said, here, go do those things. Now, anybody can Google the best practices of healing a relationship or the best practices of climbing the corporate ladder, right? And most people, if you commit to doing something and you stay consistent, you'll get there, right? The real question is, can you stay there? Can you live your life from there? No, not if you are not set up to take those actions in a sustainable way. And so that's what we teach. We teach you to operate, not to just one-off it. It's how to operate, thinking of yourself as the solution. So I always want my clients, when they start to feel that spin, or they feel resistant, or they feel frustrated, they feel desperate, I want them just to consider, could I possibly be myself? Could I be the solution and not the problem? Have I maybe been looking at this all wrong the whole time, which got me to where I'm at? It's very counterintuitive, but it works. This 4-step system works every time. I'd say 90% of the clients that came to us during the pandemic in 2020 are still with us. They came to us because they wanted to lose weight. Now they're on to careers that they never thought possible, achieving goals that were never even on their radar. Now that they know how to use this system, they're applying it all darn day. But I will say, sustainable change, long-lasting change, it's 20% insight. So what I just told you today, you could repeat it. And if you stayed consistent, utilizing those 4 steps, you would start to create sustainable change. But here's the deal. It takes practice. 80% of sustainable change is application. So that's why we are a company that we teach and we coach. We teach you the 20% that you need to know. We teach it for free all day long on podcasts just like this. And then we offer support so that you feel comfortable applying it in all the different circumstances, in unlimited circumstances. So we also have masterclasses that we teach once a month. They're $27. I always give 50% off to podcast listeners, so it's like $13. And you can try your hand at it. You can actually be handheld through the process on very specific circumstances. Once a month, we have a certain topic that we're really applying it to. And then every week, we offer free coaching. So we have free coaching Fridays that you can come and just kind of watch us put this into play. A lot of times, people from all over the world show up to get coached on their particular circumstance. So it's unlikely that you'd be the one being coached, but maybe. And you get to see it at work for free. So we offer lots of insight that doesn't have to cost a penny. But a lot of people want the support the coaching support in applying. And that's what it takes. It takes the 20/80. You have to be willing to apply it, find out what works for you, refine it, and then go at it again, practice it again. So that's what the self-control operating system is. The control is a feeling that you get by practicing this, by becoming masterful at it. You start to feel equipped and in control to handle any curveball that life throws you. So we kind of call it the self-operating system, but what you feel from it is a sense of control.
Tracy, that was some deep stuff. I'm listening. I mean, I was like just holding myself not to cut you off because there's so much stuff there. But you've hit on so many areas that anyone watching or listening can relate to. There's no doubt. I mean, if we're watching right now, listening, there's definitely something that you stated that we all do, good or bad, but we do. And specifically, the concept where we basically blame ourselves for everything, and it is all us. It is a problem with our mindset. Usually, we tend to find any excuse and reason why things are not happening, and of course, you start where you are, and it's and some first we blame everybody and judge, but then it goes here and like I just can't do it. I'm not capable. I'm not, and you talked about the idea that we talk to ourselves in a way that becomes our, I mean, first of all, it goes to our subconscious makes it real, and then that's what you think. It will reflect exactly what the words, I was watching something earlier, garbage in, garbage out, right? So you keep doing that, that's all you're going to get, bad stuff. And that's on the flip side, it's as easy, as simple as it sounds. All you got to do is switch, to the other side. I mean, positivity versus negativity. You can change. The mindset is everything. But unfortunately, not everybody has the capabilities to actually tap into that and tweak that. It's difficult. Yeah. It's not for everyone. Yeah. I mean, it's for everyone. Some people can do it alone, or at least can do most of it alone. But some people need the help, and you do provide that. And I love that whole acronym breakdown and the step by step. But it's all connected. I mean, talking about your strengths. I mean, we all have strengths. Everybody has strengths. And by the way, I'm just a person that loves positivity. There is nobody out there that does not have strengths. Folks, if you're listening, you're watching, it doesn't matter today, again, in a million years from now, you have all what it takes within. The question is, you got to tap into that nice gem and get it out. I mean, we're all diamonds and shining, but we got to get all that rubbish out, right? And frankly, that's really what it is. We need to polish, some of the strengths and some knowledge. And sometimes you need to maybe upgrade it by education and by skills and learning something new. But it's there. You have the raw stuff. You just need to get to the next stage. But again, and I love what you said. I mean, you guys even do these things on a regular basis. You give opportunities for people to coach, to at least show them the insights. And you're right. Everybody can hear this and like, oh, I got this. If that was you, you wouldn't even do it, right? I mean, it's like, what's the point? The fact is, folks, this is a true story. This happens all the time, and you would relate to this. I've done consulting. I've worked for a corporation, but you give the techniques, you give the systems, you give the strategies and the tactics and everything and the master plan. It doesn't matter. It's who applies and whether they do or not. And believe it or not, in my expertise and my experience, 80% of the time, they don't do it.
Yeah.
And it's because they don't know how to do it. They need somebody to handhold the different pieces together and show them. Then hopefully someone can pick up that and then start doing it. But that's really the problem that we find, is that a lot of people will hear the story, like hear the way you do it. I think I can do it. But then they can't. And you said it best, sustainable change, discipline. You got to keep doing this. This is not something you do and walk away from and you think that's it. This has to be on an ongoing basis, and you got to recheck and check and upgrade and tweak. You got to tune it up on and on and on and on to keep going. And you can't, and if you can't do it alone, that's when you need to reach out. And a service like, by the way, your pricing, I mean, nobody can beat that. I'm sorry. Maybe someone can, I don't know. I mean, the only thing that can beat it is free, but I think there's no question about that. I'm sure there's more programs and there's more charges, but the fact of the matter, if it is something that you want to invest in yourself, you should, and you can make a transformation. You can become the next, big deal, and that's okay. And you have to believe that you are the next big deal. It just, between you and being that next you is you.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the you today that beats on. And by the way, every person I've interviewed and I've had discussions about that they've turned their life into success, it was all in them all along.
Yeah.
Whatever they did was wrong, but then they turned that leaf and they're still them. It's not a new person. It's the same person who just changed how they behaved, how they did things. And now they're like this the success story, this role model that people are looking up to, right?
Yeah.
And you are, same thing. You were there, but now you are doing a whole different story. I'm there. I was a person doing certain things. I made, a change and I'm doing certain things. Everybody that's out there. And we all can do that.
Yeah.
It's like, being that little cocoon thingy, and then now you're a butterfly. You're
Yeah.
it's we all, so that you have that, but you just gotta get those wings out,
Yeah.
fly away. But you can, but if you need help, you certainly can. That's the other thing. People sometimes refuse to get help. They're just stuck in that concept. Well, like, I got this. If the results are not changing, you're not seeing the progress, there's a problem.
Yeah.
So that's and that starts with that S, like self questioning, asking the questions. Self-talk is important. A lot of us are afraid of doing that, or they don't do enough of it, and that's actually what it is. So listen, I know we have crunch time. I would love to go on and on. You have another show behind this, but I really I enjoyed this discussion. I wish we could do a comeback again. Maybe we can do that.
Yeah, you bet.
But certainly, the concept is great. It works. Now, I know you mentioned worldwide audiences and, people from all over the world. So this is all online, or you also do physical?
Yeah. It's all online. I do some keynote presentations, but where I'll show up live, but the bulk of what I do is online. And so, we have all online programs. We have an online membership. We have the free coaching Friday. We have the master classes. All of that is online. So it's very accessible for everyone. I'm in the central time zone. So, there are people that are poor Australians and they find themselves getting up in the middle of the night, but it's obviously worth it to them. So it's all good.
Again, invest in yourself, right? Well, here's the thing. So this is an online program, and you're doing this. Now, you do this for different things. You mentioned fitness, wellness, business coaching, the whole night. So what are some of the keynotes, like for people, at least if they're looking for? By the way, I love what you said about we're just not going to give it to you. We're going to show you how it's done. That's important. So people need to hear that.
Yeah. So what we teach is an operating system. So we teach those 4 steps. There's certain principles. We're teaching you how to become aware, how to believe without any evidence. We're teaching you how to connect, like really connect internally versus connecting so much externally. And we're teaching you how to make decisions. So many of our clients and people that aren't yet a client, they tell us they feel out of control. The antidote to feeling out of control is to make a decision. I don't care what the decision is. You can make the decision to make a decision. And now you feel a sense of control because you have done that. So we teach people how to make decisions about what it is that they want, why they want it, where they want to go, like where they're at right now, like lots and lots of decisions. So those are kind of the principles that we teach within the self-operating system, but it's applicable to anything. Literally, it's unlimited in its applications. So we have programs around what most people come to us wanting to apply it to. So we have Self-Made Mind and Body, which is a weight loss program. All of our programs are 10 weeks long. If you become a member, you get access to them all. But we have Self-Made Mind and Body, Self-Made Mind and Relationships, where you can work on relationship with a significant other, with a friend, with your employer, with family members. It goes on and on. Self-Made Mind and Productivity for all of those procrastinators out there. That's a really popular one. Self-Made Mind and Entrepreneur for all the people who love entrepreneurship but really don't know where to start. That's a great one. Self-Made Mind and Leadership for all of those people who find themselves leading others. Self-Made Mind and Money for people who have financial problems or financial goals. So we've got a total of 7 of them. We have more coming on board at the new year. So we even have a student teaching program for those people who want to learn how to teach these concepts. And we have a coaching program for people who want to become a coach. So we literally have something for everyone. And it's all online, and we are real live people. Most of the coaching is done by me currently, but we have other coaches as well. But yeah, it becomes very kind of family like. You get to know everybody. The community is amazing because we all speak the same language. So yeah, that's you can find out more at selfmadeu.com, and it's the letter u.com, and self, so it's SELF dash MADE, the letter u.com. You can see the upcoming master classes. You can sign up for those that happen once a month. And then outside of those, we do free coaching Fridays. So there's just so many free resources on that website. And then it'll also direct you to all of our social media channels.
You beat me to it. I was just going to ask. Well, you did. So it will be in the description of the show. So folks, do check out and listen, hop on those invites and see what it looks like. And if you see that it's worth it, start. And if you want to be a member, please do. So yeah, and get that discount. I mean, why not? Right. So hey,
the coupon code will be in the show notes, right?
Yes, please. Awesome. Well, listen, Tracy, I know we have a hard stop and you need a few minutes to breathe before the next one. But so I want to thank you so much for coming on and for all these great insights. I appreciate it. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this show. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show. I'm Hurricane H. Bye for now.
There's a lot of talk all over the internet these days about the remarkable benefits of carbon-60, and baby boomers are especially excited about it. Whatever generation you're in, if you want more energy, better health, and a boost in vitality, we invite you to try Greska's Carbon-60, a stunning development in free radical destruction. Being much smaller in size than conventional antioxidants derived from fruits and vegetables, it is far more bioavailable to quickly mend the toxin-crippled cells in your body. Greska's Carbon-60 is the only C60 product that is made without the use of undesirable solvents. The only one. Greska's Carbon-60 was developed by a brilliant NASA carbon scientist, and 95% report positive results from this Nobel Prize-winning technology in just 4 days. Visit c-60.com. That's c-60.com, or call 720-600-6040.